Hello everyone, it's Rob Clark from Learning Architects here. Welcome to our Members Hangout. This Members Hangout is focused on managing notifications in the digital world. Now, it's quite a big topic today, and so I've got a bit of an agenda, but before we do that, we've got Steve from Tasman Bay with us. Now, Steve, I just muted you, so can you please unmute your sound and introduce yourself?
G'day, Steve Matthews, Tasman Bay Christian School. Just getting used to all this stuff with Rob, but thoroughly enjoying it.
Good one, thanks. Okay, so what I'd like to do is, for those of you that are just joining us and are able to view this online on YouTube, I'm going to share my screen, and I'll share my entire screen today. Normally I wouldn't do that, so you can see that there's Steve in the video, and I'll just go and minimize that so you can see my screen. Before we start, I'm on a Mac, so one of the things I don't want to happen during our call is I don't want a text message to come through or a notification to come through that will interrupt us. So I'm going to go over here to the top right hand corner of my Mac menu bar, and you'll notice if I scroll up a little bit, there is a do not disturb feature. Okay, so that is really handy when you're in a meeting such as this, and it's saying do not disturb and it will turn off automatically tomorrow. Okay, you can see here, if I scroll down on my Mac, there are a whole lot of notifications from people that I may or may not want to see. I can clear those if I want to, okay, and just get rid of them, but I just tend to ignore them. If I want to change these, there's a little wee cog down the bottom right, and that takes me into my system preferences where I can actually turn these on or off. Okay, so now I'll close that out, and I've got a bit of an agenda here. This Hangout will be available in our online learning community. Okay, so you can get to the online learning community by going to members.learningarchitects.com, and members are able to access online courses as well as discussion forums for unlimited support, connect with other members, and get a huge list of resources in here that are useful in all sorts of different ways. The area of the website that we're looking at today is this one here called Members Hangouts. Okay, so if I go there and click on that, you will see that the Members Hangouts will load, and we're in the second session here, which will be streaming live now. Okay, so in addition to this video, which members and non-members can view, there is also a whole lot of bonus content that I'm busy preparing for you. There is a really interesting TED Talk down here about the race for our attention. Now that TED Talk is worth having a look at. The basic premise behind this is that many technology companies, it's arguable whether they have our best interests in mind. Okay, so the need to be able to manage our notifications is getting more and more important. I've put in a tutorial about email filters, and that has a resource there that you can click on and get further detail. I think that that is another way that we can save ourselves time, and that is a key issue that members get help on to help them save time and make themselves a little bit more efficient. Then we've got a bit on notifications for different kinds of phones. So there's a really useful video here that will show you how to manage notifications on an iPhone. And also if you have an Android device, there are also some, there's a really good video with some tips in here as well. And there'll be content going in regarding Google Drive notifications and calendar notifications as well. Okay, so the basic agenda today is looking at Google Docs and Drive notifications, a little bit on email, managing your calendar notifications. That one can be particularly important because it really bites you when you miss a meeting. I'm not certain if we're going to get time to look at phones. I'm wondering if that might be a topic all in its own right. What do you think, Steve?
Oh, those first few will take us a while.
Yeah, so I think let's unpack the ones that are all within the same environment first. Yep. We may touch on Facebook. Facebook is a place that you can get lots of notifications from, as are other social tools. Okay, so some of these ones, the fourth bullet point there, may actually be a topic for further exploration and additional tutorials. Now, I just want to acknowledge Steve Ladbrook from Oakland School, who inspired the idea for this topic. Steve's view was that the thing that people really want help with is they really need help with time-saving tips, and this is really a way to save time, I guess. Okay, so now I just want to go back to the Hangout, and I'll stop sharing my screen. Now, one of the things that I learned really quickly when I got my first watch, which is an Apple Watch, was how to turn the notifications off on the thing, because every time somebody rang me when I first got it, my watch would ring, my phone would ring, my iPad would ring, and if everything's all turned on at the same time, which for me it often is, my computer would ring as well. So I'd have 4 different devices all ringing at the same time. So that's the kind of example of the overwhelm that can happen with this. Okay, so let's dive into, which one do you want to look at first, Steve?
Oh, turning them off.
Turning them off, rightio. Okay,
4 of them.
Okay, so let's have a look at a simple one first by way of a bit of a warm-up. Okay, so how to manage your notifications in a Google document. Okay, so now you know that we can make a comment on something. Okay, so now I've shared this document with Steve. Okay, so hi Steve, here is a comment. Okay, now that will send everybody that is connected to this document an email. Okay, now if Steve were to reply to this, he could reply back to me. So I'm just going to reply back to myself for now. Actually, Steve, do you want to jump on this document?
No.
And we'll get Steve commenting in here, and we'll make a few comments back and forth. And I'm going to raise a couple of questions. Do you know where to go inside Gmail to manage notifications? Okay, so in a while, Steve will get 2 emails from inside this document saying that Rob Clark has made these 2 comments. Okay, and that's all fine and dandy. Now, just to point out, this little button top right corner here that's called the comments thread. If I click on that, you have the ability inside a Google document to alter the notification settings. So the default is that every comment on a document that you are shared onto will send you an email. Now, they don't come through immediately. They do actually take a little bit of time, so they're not instantaneous, which, you know, might be a good thing. But I just want to point out this little feature here where you can decide on particular documents not to get any notifications. So let's say, for example, you are having you are an admin staff member and you're shared into a document where the teachers are all doing a review and they're all having this big discussion. You might want to only get notifications to your comments. Okay, so what that would do is it means that if I were to make a comment and Steve were to reply, it would only send, and Steve had that activated, it would only send him an email once I reply back to him or to his comments. Okay, so that's a way to cut that down, but equally you might turn it off completely. Does that make sense to you, Steve?
Yeah, I've got that bit. I just can't get into where you are.
Can you see the little comment button at the top right?
Yep, got that one.
So can you see a little bell that says notification?
What a wally.
Now, the other thing that you might consider too is when you're making a comment is if you want to target an individual so that they definitely get the message. So this is a case where you might want somebody to get a notification. if you put a plus and then type their email address, okay, this is called a mention. Okay, so it is Google's way of helping you to be targeted with your communication. So that will ensure that Steve at tasbaychristian.school.nz gets this comment from this document. Okay, now I want to flick over to my Google Drive and just touch on Google Drive notifications. So Google has recently altered a couple of things with the interface, and you'll notice that the settings cog has moved to the very top.
Yep.
It used to be further down, just beneath that. The icons are all pretty much the same. You've got the view details, the eye. Now that one actually is quite useful, and that actually gives you what's known as an activity stream. So everything inside the folder that you're in, I'm currently inside my drive. Every time somebody comments on something, uploads something, deletes, shares, so you can see all different people, friends, clients, colleagues busy doing things here. And if I were to go and say click on a particular folder, like let's say I go into I don't know, my movies folder, it will show the activity just from that folder. Now that's not necessarily notifications, but it's a good way for you to notice what's happening in a particular part of your Google Drive. Okay.
Yep.
And now if I go further along, further up to my settings area and click on settings, this is where you can alter the notifications inside your Google Drive. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. This loads up my settings area, and there are a range of different settings which are fully explained in other tutorials inside our online learning community. But you'll notice, excuse me, there are 3 sections. There's a general, a notifications, and a manage apps. So I want to go to notifications. And you might notice on my one, there are 3 options: browser, Slack, and email. Now, you don't need to worry about Slack necessarily. Slack is a communication tool that I use in my business, and I've connected it to my Google Drive. Okay, that is so that I get my Google Drive notifications inside that communication tool. Now, you'll notice that I've turned off notifications in my browser. What have you got yours open there, Steve?
No, I'm just going to actually, because I was thinking I want to do that.
Yeah, this can get really annoying if you have this turned on, because as you will appreciate, our Google Drives are very, very busy places. Okay, so if I were to tick that, watch what happens. So see how it's saying drive.google.com wants to show notifications. And if I click allow, which I'll have to undo later, it's now going to give me an alert that will pop up and interrupt me inside my web browser. Now, I can get notified about different actions inside documents. So, for example, a newly shared item. That can be really problematic in a busy shared folder. So I would recommend actually having all of these turned off, potentially. Maybe you're going to need to decide on whether you want these notifications in your browser or if you want them in your email. Okay, so somebody can request access to a document and it will send you an email, but do you want it to send you an email as well as a notification in your browser? I would suggest not. It will drive you crazy. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the setting that I had set there. Make sense, Steve?
Yep.
All right.
I've got that one now unclicked, which is nice.
Yeah. Now, if you want to learn more about any of these topics today, particularly in the Google world, if you click on the little help and type in notifications and hit enter, you should see help articles on the topics that we're going to be looking at. Yeah. Okay, so that's just a handy little way to remind you. I will put links to those documents in my inside the tutorial in the community. Okay, so I will put reference to here in the downloads and bonus content for you.
Yep.
All right. Now, next thing I'd like to look at is email. Now, this is fairly straightforward as well.
Stop sending me emails.
Now, I can see here that I've got a few emails, a few people that can't make it today, which is, you know, that's life. But the good thing is, if you remember, you'll be able to access this video later. Now, Steve, you might recognize that photo.
Yes. Down the beach.
That is Tasman Bay.
Yep.
Which is where you're from, actually. Right. Now, this is my inbox at the moment, and I'm sort of intentionally hidden it because I just don't want to look at my email right now. That's just too scary. The settings cog is in the top right-hand corner. I want you to notice that. So generally in your Google world, the settings cog is a good place to go to. Okay, so if I click on that and go to the settings, and I'll show you where to go to get to the notifications section, or a place where notifications happen. Okay, so now a couple of things in here. If I scroll down there, you notice there's a whole bunch of different sub-menus inside this settings area of your Gmail. I'm going to just scroll down and have a look at a couple of things here. Now, there's a new feature in Gmail called Nudges, and this is Gmail using artificial intelligence, and it will give you a little notification saying you have sent an email, and did you want to respond to this? And it will give you a little prompt. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. The setting I really want to point out is this one here called desktop notifications. So you'll notice that I have mine off. Now, desktop notifications means that if you enable it, it will pop up on your computer regardless of what application you are using. Okay, so my view on that is that it's an interruption that you don't need. So my sort of philosophy on email is you go and check it when it suits you, and you don't live inside your inbox. Okay, so if you live inside your inbox, my suggestion will be that you will fall into it, and it'll decrease your productivity. Okay, so you can you've got three options. You can choose to have new mail notifications. You can choose to have important mail notifications on only, or turn them off. Okay, so regardless of if you click the top two, you're going to have to enable desktop notifications for your mail. Okay, so my recommendation would be turn it off, because you just don't need any more interruptions in your life. Does that make sense, Steve?
Yep, I like that one. It's always going off.
Yeah, so, and you know, and this is one of the things with the digital world, it is terrible for interrupting us, because all of these devices and apps and pieces of software and things are competing for our attention. All right. Next off the ramp is something that I think is quite important, and that is calendar.
Oh yeah, I like this one.
So calendar notifications are, let me just launch my calendar. I think calendar notifications are quite important to get your head around. Okay, so if I go into, this is my calendar here today, for this week, again, go to the settings menu, which is top right corner, and click that. Now, if I scroll down, each of these sections on the left-hand side here are on the same page. So this navigation basically takes you, can you see on the left the navigation changing?
Yep.
So I want to go down to event settings. Okay, and you'll notice event settings, there's a couple of things in here that are worth noticing. So there's a default guest list, and whether you want guests to automatically modify your events. I quite often do that because I put my agendas into the description of the events, and that's just handy for clients. You might decide whether you want to automatically put invitations into your calendar, and how you want to actually respond to that. Okay, so if you've replied, so that won't put it into your calendar unless you have replied. The second one up is yes, but don't send event notifications unless I've responded yes or maybe. And then the third one puts them straight in. Okay, so, but what will happen with that one is it will grey them out. Now, the third one down is your notifications. Okay, so you can turn them off, or you can make them desktop notifications or just have alerts. So it's really a preference, I think. Your desktop notification will activate even if you don't have, if you're working in another piece of software, and an alert will just pop up and then disappear. Okay, and you can decide whether or not you want to play sounds. So you really probably need to explore how these work. Turn it on, maybe put an event into your calendar or get someone to invite you. Do this with a friend and see how it behaves to decide on what your preference is. Does that make sense, Steve?
Yeah.
The other thing in terms of, I guess, looking at notifications, you can set your working hours, and that will warn people
To leave me alone.
Yeah, to leave you alone at certain times. So it might be that there's a period of time in the week where you actually don't take any meetings and it's your development time. I should probably do that. The other thing that you can do is you can tell your Google Calendar to actually send you SMS reminders if you really want to. I don't know why you might do that, because you've probably got your phone with you anyway. Yeah, so that's calendar. Okay. Gosh, we're moving quickly here, aren't we? We're powering through it, Steve. Any questions so far?
Good numbers.
Now, let me just stop sharing my screen. Any questions so far, Steve?
Oh, good so far.
Okay, right. Let's go back and have a look at... I'll share my whole screen again. This is going to go wonky. Right, Facebook.
Oh, God,
now, in most cases, most social environments like Facebook will have settings in which you can control the notifications. Okay, so and it's worth learning how those settings work, not just for the notifications, but particularly with Facebook for the privacy aspects as well, and how you want your information to be shared or not. Okay, so in terms of Facebook, the notifications area is found in this tiny little drop-down triangle, top right corner next to the help. Again, if you can't remember this or you want to find something, you can actually search. Okay, so see all that? If I do a search for the word notification, I can find out about different kinds of notifications for events and different parts of Facebook. But for now, we're just going to have poke around. So I'm going to go down and click on my settings. Now that will go into my general account settings. Okay, so this is where you've got details of your username and all that kind of stuff, and your contact details and those sorts of preferences. If I go down to notifications, you will see there are 4 subsections. Okay, now, when I go and click on each of these, it will dive further into the rabbit warren. Okay, so if I go into the on Facebook notifications and click edit, you'll notice it said to me, actually, I'll go back out. Sorry, I went too fast then. See, it says all notifications, some sounds on. Now, if I click edit, and this is where it's worth investing some time, okay, because many times these social environments have got so many different options and so many different ways you can get interrupted. You really want to spend some energy to learn how it works and customize it to your preferences. Okay. So for me, I do not want a sound every time a new notification is received. Okay. I don't like that. It does my head in. If somebody sends me a message via, Messenger, right, it will send me a sound, and that's fine. I get notifications for friends' birthdays, but you can turn that off. Okay. I get notifications for close friends. If someone tags me into one of their posts, it will notify me. I can get notifications for the pages that I manage. Now, that one's interesting if you manage Facebook pages. So if I click on that, that might be useful if you are managing a school Facebook page. So here are a number of different Facebook pages that I'm involved with. Okay, so some of these I don't need to be notified on. So, for example, Wataha School, as much as I love you guys, I'm going to turn your notifications off. Okay, but I do want to be notified on my Learning Architects page. Okay, which kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So if you manage and also my United Nations Association thing, which is a voluntary thing that I do. Okay, so those things are important if you manage a page. So if you manage a school Facebook page or your business Facebook page, I would suggest you turn those on so that you can interact with your audience. You can select which groups you might get notified on, and I'm a member of a number of different groups. Some of them I have turned off, and some of them you can get just highlights, which is quite nice. So that's kind of a cut down version of all posts. Okay, so some of these groups are not very active and some of them are very active, and but my point is you can actually control that, and you can see, over time you'll join groups and you'll forget you've even joined them, and clearly I have forgotten some of these, and some of them I'm not really active with anymore because they're not of interest anymore, but some of them are. So that's worth knowing about. If you are with somebody, if you are a friend with somebody on Facebook and they create a live video, you can get a notification of that happening. Don't know if you'd like that or not, but it's not for everyone. Right now, email. One of the things that I think I do a lot of work in is helping people reduce the amount of email they get. So in this case, I have selected that I will only get some email, important notifications about me or activity I've missed. Okay, so I don't want it to be all notifications by email because that will just drive me crazy and fill my inbox up, which I don't want. Okay, live video on Facebook, I'll get an email notification about that. Office settings, I don't want that. I'm going to turn that off. So that's to do with offers that I have saved, and I believe that's the Facebook Marketplace.
Rob, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You get into those settings again on your Facebook?
You go to the little drop-down triangle.
That's what I thought you did.
And then go to settings.
And
then on the left it's notifications. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 down. It's the third block of items down.
Cheers.
Now, notifications I've turned off. Look at this. I have turned heaps of notifications off. Pokes, friends, requests, and this is all the email notifications, right? I don't want to get emailed about all this stuff. I just do it inside Facebook. So I choose when I go onto Facebook and I control my interactions with it rather than it controlling me. So see all these different ways you can get notifications? It's crazy.
Let me go. I want to play.
Yeah. You need to. This is a thing that I would suggest everybody invests a little bit of time in, okay? Yeah. Now, what I want to do next is let's go further down. You can also have desktop and mobile device notifications in Facebook, which can be really annoying. Okay, so you'll notice here I have got Chrome notifications enabled. Now, I can either mute them or turn them off. I'm going to turn them off. And that means that if that were turned on, I would be given a notification in my web browser when somebody does something on Facebook. That can be really, really, really annoying, I think. Now, if you really, really can't live without Facebook, you can have text notifications. So how many different ways do you guys want to get interrupted is probably the question you need to consider. I have turned it on, and I get a text message when somebody comments on my status updates or on posts to my timeline. I also get a text message when somebody friend requests or confirms. I don't know if I need that. I'm going to turn that off. But if you really, really want to get lots of text messages, turn on all other SMS notifications. Okay. Now that's a lot of stuff, isn't it? Facebook's probably one of the more complicated. We've kind of gone from quite simple to quite complicated pretty quickly there, eh?
Yep.
In terms of lots of choices people need to make. Right, that is Facebook. Now, phones. I think we can look at phones. I was wondering if we would have time for this, and I think we do. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and go back to looking at phones. Okay, now I've got a video on the Members Hangout blog post inside the online learning community for you guys to refer to for this. But I thought what I'd do, and I was going to prepare a video for it, but really someone else has already done it. You'll notice here I've got a message here that says that somebody has posted to the New Zealand Teachers Facebook page. And so that's an example of a notification inside a phone, which, you know, can be helpful if you really want it to be sometimes, you know. Now, if I go and unlock my phone, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. Now, you'll notice here on my phone, there's my lovely wife, Angela, and me. You'll notice that I've only got 4 icons across the top, and I've only got, you know, a few down the bottom. So I've decided that I don't want all these apps saying to me, check me, check me, check me, check me, every time I look at my phone. And I think that's something to consider in terms of your wellness. I see commonly principals, one of the first things I ask principals to do when I work with them is to eliminate these badges on their apps, especially the one for their email, so that you get the opportunity to switch off when you're not at work. Okay. Now, the other thing, if you really want to take this a step further, is you might decide to change your display to monochrome, which is black and white, so that things are not standing out as much and saying, check me, check me, check me, check me, 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 because that will, it'll do your head in. Okay. Now, obviously, I've had 4 text messages so far today from different people, and I haven't checked those. You'll notice that I've got a couple of calendar updates down there, but that's it. Now, I want to get rid of those calendar notifications in there because I live in my calendar anyway, because it kind of runs my life. But before we do that, let's have a look at how to alter your notifications. Okay, so on an iPhone, the settings area, can you see this okay, Steve? It's not too blurry.
No, good as gold.
Okay, the settings area is the place that you want to go to, and I'm actually reading this back to front, so I'm just going to have to turn it around. My ability to multitask on Wednesday is decreased. the area that you need to go to is this one here. Oh, there you go. Called notifications. Okay, and you will see that all the different apps that you have access to, right, are all showing, and I'm going to scroll down to, and luckily they're in alphabetical order. Okay, so I'm going to go to my calendar, right, which is here, and go in here. You will see the first one says allow notifications. Okay, so if you were to turn that off, that turns it on or off completely. Okay, so if you don't need to get a notification from something, turn it off. And I suggest you do that for your email, especially if you're a school principal. It will help you to switch off when you're not at work. Or even better, turn your email off on your phone. Okay. The next option is you have got, I'm just going to move over to the side here, upcoming events, invitations, invite responses, shared calendar changes, Siri found in apps. Now, the interesting thing about the iPhone is, and also your Android devices, is that each different app actually has different ways of interrupting you. Okay, so if I go into upcoming events, I can have a sound or not. I can have a badge icon, a badge app icon. Now I'm going to turn that off. Okay, and if I go back out, any new notifications, once I've just cleared these ones off, they should have, it will tell me, it'll get rid of that little badge. Okay, so let's go back in. Now, show and lock screen. That actually means that when the phone is locked, it will show anyway. So it might be that you just want text messages to show in lock screen, or it might be that you've got a teenager that uses Snapchat to communicate with you, and you want to, you know, be notified when he or she sends you a Snapchat, maybe. Now, further down, there's a show in history and show as banners. Now, what you can do if you turn show and banners off, or on rather, you get an option of it being persistent, which means that, so persistent means that it stays until you swipe it away, which I think you should consider. And temporary means that it just appears on your screen and then disappears. Okay, and you can also, with the calendar alerts, you can show previews or not. Okay, so you have to choose. Okay, so if I go and turn, so most of these are all turned off. Okay, if I go back out, you'll notice my email is turned off. And if I go into my inbox, you know, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different email accounts. Some of them are busier than others. Okay, so if I hop out of there and go into my settings for mail, where are you, mail? You'll notice that I've just turned the notifications off because I don't want to be locked to my phone.
Invite them.
All the time. Invite.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was a proper meeting.
Ooh.
Oh, is it Margaret, is it?
Hello,
it is.
How are you?
I'm good. Now, Margaret, you're live streaming through YouTube right now, even though we can't see you.
Oh, wow. See me from over here?
We can. So, now, Steve, do you want to, have you got any questions?
No, I want to go and play.
You want to go and play? Which bits do you think are most useful to you?
I want to go and play with my Facebook to start with.
Yeah.
My calendars after that.
Yeah.
My phone has just come to my priority and looking at what I can play with.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways that you can get interrupted. The other thing that I commonly do too on the phone, actually, let me just go back to show my screen. So let's say I'm going into a meeting. Rather than putting it in airplane mode, what I'll do is I'll swipe down, and you'll notice that I've got the little the moon icon tapped. That is the do not disturb. Okay, so that is useful because it means that it won't actually interrupt me, but things will still come into it. Okay, so that is a useful thing to limit your notifications when you're in a meeting. I mean, if you really want to kill everything, you put it in flight mode.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Same thing, really, same deal. It's just the difference between do not disturb and flight mode is
I've locked mine.
What's that?
I've locked mine. It doesn't swipe down.
Oh, now your one, this is an iPhone, a newer iPhone. So your one, I believe, might swipe. Will it swipe from the bottom for your one? I can't remember.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, so this is a newer phone. Okay.
There it is. You're right.
Oh,
Sorry.
Now, the other thing on the phone, just while we're looking at phone notifications, and I'll be interested in people's questions on this, because there may be some specific questions that members will have. So please comment them on this blog post or on this video as well. That's fine. You can actually show your notifications in various ways on the screen when it's in lock mode. Okay, so now you can customize these. Okay, I don't tend to look at it too much. Sometimes I might, but generally speaking, it's yeah, I try to be discerning about when I go on and let myself get swallowed into the world of interruptions and notifications. So that is a that's all we've got for today, I think. Unless, Steve, you've got any...
Don't play now.
Just want to remind you that if you have got, if you would like to join our online community, you're very welcome. In there, you will get access to online courses, templates for your organization, as well as unlimited support in our discussion forums. And some of these forums are very busy. A really, really extensive resource library, which includes all sorts of useful apps, add-ons, extensions, great tutorials, template gallery, and these member hangouts. So that's all from me today. Thanks for joining us. And if you have questions, please comment them on this blog post or on the video. Thanks, Steve, for joining us.
thanks, Rob.
And too, even though you didn't realise you were joining us.
Thanks, Rob. Cheers, mate.
Stop the broadcast.
Okay.